Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Our Small Footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a family of 8 who live off-grid in Australia. It is Sunday, which is normally my sort of chat catch-up type video, so that's what we're going with, as just trying to keep a bit of a routine. Now, the plans for today's video, though, had to be changed. So I mentioned a while back that I got a Yasol messaged me asking me if I'd be interested in getting one of their exercise bikes to share on the channel. And I jumped at it because Darryl really wanted that next step up with the whole keto carnivore thing, the extra exercise, and I'd been looking at secondhand ones and just hadn't found one. So we received that earlier in the week, and I was going to put the promo for it in this video, but I still need a little bit of information from them, so I can't do that yet. So it'll have to be later on in the week. But I was going to do a little bit of a, an update on the health and that with the bike, but I'll save that for the next video, so you guys can have a look at the bike. It's pretty cool. The kids are really enjoying it as well. So that was going to be the plan. Now, this week is school holidays here in Queensland. I assume, I don't know whether, we don't do school holidays because we homeschool. We take about 6 to 8 weeks off over Christmas time, but the rest of the time we don't take set time off as such. Obviously, because the kids are going to be involved in some school holiday stuff this week, there'll be a couple of days there where they don't do schoolwork, and that's sort of how we run it. So, sometimes the weather's really bad, or there's a big group project that we're doing on the house, or it's someone's birthday, or there's a bunch of doctor's appointments or whatever, and we'll have those days free, where we won't do any sort of regimented, set, marked schoolwork. So instead of having 2 weeks off at Easter and 2 weeks off in September or whenever the school holidays are, we just do it variable because that works for us and we can. So it's school holidays this week in Queensland, but we don't actually follow the school holidays. But because Darryl is doing the youth camp thing in town with the church for school holidays, there's some stuff going on this week that means that there'll be a couple of days where the kids don't do their schoolwork as such, but they're doing other things. So Darryl's running some D&D games as part of it. Sonnet's doing some paracord bracelets and things like that, and I am going to provide some food for them to take. So the kids are all getting involved in that, so they'll be doing that. But it means that the last week has been pretty busy with things like finishing 3D printing the little characters that Darryl needs for his D&D, and Sonnet, we printed out some beads for Sonnet to use for her paracord key rings and bracelets and stuff like that. And so we've been doing that all week when we can with the weather. We've finally had a run of sunny days, so I think we've passed the wet patch that we had, which is nice. It means we're getting on top of washing, because we did have to go to the laundromat a few times Darryl did. He went to the laundromat a few times when he went into town to get washing dried because we just ran out. So there's that. So what I'm going to do instead, what I need to do today is bake the cakes and stuff for the youth thing tomorrow. I bought those little mini loaf tins that I can bake the cakes in and ice them up and seal them up, and they look really lovely and they're just a treat. I tested my recipe to make sure that I was all good yesterday. It's an egg-free, dairy-free chocolate cake. So and that worked just like the wacky cake type thing, the depressionary type cake that I make. So I made sure that it worked in the sizes that we needed, but I ran out of sugar. So Darryl's at church at the moment with some of the kids, and he will bring me some sugar home, and I'll have to bake them this afternoon, which is fine. So in the meantime, I thought I might bake some bread for the kids. We haven't baked bread all week because the weather's just been crappy, and we've had other things to eat, but they haven't had bread this week. I don't think. Wraps, but no bread. So I'm going to bake just some sandwich bread. So I thought I'd do that while I was standing here. And I also have to figure out what I'm going to serve for lunch. I did pull some wings out of the freezer yesterday, but they're probably not defrosted yet. So I'll get started on some bread, and I'll chat through whatever else we need to chat through this week. I always find it difficult to think of what's important. And what, I know everyone loves these conversations, and it's fine. I enjoy, the update, and this video is one of the easiest ones to edit, of course, because it's basically just conversation. The only thing I do is edit out kids if they come and harass me, or dogs, or, that sort of thing. occasionally a little bit of editing with food, depending on what I'm making. But I always feel like they have to be kind of boring because they're just updates. But weeks go so fast when you're in them, and it's slower. I know for everyone else, like it's like watching episodes on TV. I've been really frustrated with TV shows. You have paid streaming subscriptions and they're still only releasing them out once a week. And then when you paid streaming, you used to get it all at once. So the week between episodes is really, really long, even though it's not very long. So I know that it's different on both sides, and that was a bit of a ramble, but you know, that's what you get on these videos. Let me grab my stuff together to get this bread done first, and then I will have a think about what else we need to chat about. So because it's a weekend, the neighbours are at their property again, and their generator's running. And the dogs just, they can't tolerate it. It's not a regular enough occurrence that it becomes something normal for them. So every time it happens, they play up. And they're guard dogs. That's their job, and I'm grateful for it. But man, anyway. So I'm going to make just sandwich bread. I've made this a few times. I really need to get it up on the website. But I do 720 mils of water. I'm using warm water because I'm going to add some cold cream to it. So I want warm water just to give me a boost. I just want this to proof up really nice and quick, and just be done. So it's not boiling. I've just put it on the stove to warm up. It's a little above body temp, and then we do 180 of milk. Now I've run out of tins of coconut cream, so I'm using, this is the stuff that the kids use for their hot chocolates and tea and stuff like this, and what Darryl and I used to use for our coffee before we went keto. So I'm just using the end of one of these, and I'll top it up with a little bit of water because there's not quite enough in there, but I don't want to open a whole new one. So one of the reasons, like to skip back from that 10-week grocery haul too, is that when I was doing a 10-week, like it wasn't supposed to be 10 weeks. We were only supposed to do 8 to 9, and then we were going to see how we went. But because the last one was a 10-week, it's near impossible to get enough of some things. So like the coconut cream, for example, we go through a lot of tins of coconut cream. I haven't bought any in bulk. Last trip, I will order some to be delivered to mums this month, the 5 litre goon bags. But the tins, I can't get enough. So like I buy them from Aldi, or I bought some from Coles this time as well. I'm not a huge fan of the Woolworths ones because you have to open them with a can opener, which is fine. I own a can opener. But the kids find it much easier to use the pull lids. But so Coles has some with pull lids that are a good price, similar to Aldi, and then Aldi. You can buy more expensive brands, but I just don't feel the need. And so when you go to Aldi, sometimes it's only like 12 tins on the shelf, and I can go to 2 different Aldis and still only get 24 tins. This time there was none at Aldi, so I bought it all from Coles, but I think I bought 24 tins at Coles, not knowing that I wasn't going to be able to get any anywhere else and things like that. So bringing the groceries back to the 4 to 6 week is going to make that a lot easier. It's because I was thinking of things like rice milk. So like the kids can go through a litre and a bit of rice milk a day when they're just having it with cereal. That's all they have it with, is with cereal. And if you're looking at a 10-week span, that's 70 litres plus of rice milk. Even if I wanted to buy that amount, having the space to be able to do it, and being able to get it would be next to impossible because no one ever has enough in stock. I'm using some rice malt syrup because we're out of sugar. Again, something that we ran out of. So I'm just going to use some rice malt syrup just to help with the proofing of that yeast. That's my sugar for the yeast to eat. Normally I use a fair bit of sugar actually in the sandwich bread dough because it's sort of like a sweetened dough. I don't know if I want to use that much rice malt syrup though as an alternative, so I might have to just assess the texture of the dough as I go. So I think I'll just assess the texture. I only did about 20 grams. Maybe I'll bump that just slightly. Normally I do sort of 150 grams of sugar because it's between 3 loaves, and this is a sweetened, it's a sandwich bread. It's not, don't have to add sugar, but it really does make it feel like a sandwich bread, make it a soft, slightly sweet sandwich bread. So anyway, so what do we do there? So we'll put that in there. We're going to put some salt in as well. And then we've got some ghee or olive oil. Now the ghee is solid at the moment. Olive oil is not, so I'll probably just use olive oil for ease of pouring today, and then I'm going to put the flour in, and we do about 1250 to 1280 of flour between bakers and plain. All right, so we're just going to bring this together, see how it goes, make an assessment of texture. I was going to say something else and I forgot. So the changeover from the 8 to 10 week back to the 4 to 6 week is going to be a little bit challenging to begin with. And I think I will probably overbuy to start with, which isn't a bad thing. I need to plug the mixer in. It'll give me the chance to get a little bit of a stockpile going again. I'm not a huge stockpiler, but I do like to have extra. And lately with the 8 to 10 week shopping period, we don't end up with extra. Like we run out before the end of the trip. And that sucks because I don't want to buy it locally. Like Darryl's going to have to buy some sugar locally, and theoretically black and gold sugar should be a similar sort of price to Coles or Woolies. But sometimes there's stuff that's not so cheap that I need to keep going with what we're doing, and he buys it locally because that's the choice. So moving back to the 4 to 6 week means that I should be able to accomplish getting enough and a bit more. It'll be interesting to see how much it costs. I'll do a planning video before I go. Hopefully that mixer isn't too loud. I'm having to stop for the dogs all the time too though, so who knows. I'll do some comparisons when I do the planning video because I keep a copy of those inventory files, spreadsheets for every single inventory. Like it's all kept labeled so that I can see how much I had left at the end of each shopping period and how much I bought or approximately bought. I can clarify how much I actually bought if I wanted to with the videos as well, but it's an approximation. It doesn't need to be perfect. And so it will allow me to see how much I had planned and how much I had left. So things like the coconut cream and things like that, I can sit there and go, well, I had this much left at the end of this period, so I probably only need half that amount to do half the amount of time. It's not going to be an exact science, and it's going to take me a little while to get it right because I've spent so long working on getting the 8 to 10 week ones right that now I'm going to have to dial back. And in dialing back, I'm probably not going to dial back far enough. I can tell you now. So like, I don't expect the groceries to be half the price. So the average sort of spend over the 8 to 10 weeks is sort of $400 odd a week. And when we add everything into it, all the extra spending, the extra meat deliveries and everything else, $4 to $420 a week over that 10-week period, which is perfectly fine for me. But I can see it lifting a little bit as on a per week basis. So I can see that I'm going to go and do this next shop with the point. I think on the calendar I've worked out it's going to be 5 weeks between when I go and then when I go again. I have to figure it out. Darryl has Synod at some point, so he has to go to Brisbane for Synod, and there's something else in amongst all of that we have to work around as well as paydays. So as I've said before, my YouTube income, that goes predominantly to groceries. And it pays once a month. So I always need to make sure that I'm heading to Brisbane sometime post when it gets paid so that it can pay for the groceries sort of thing. That is definitely a big chunk of my groceries every trip. So what was I saying? When I do the next trip, it's going to be interesting to see how I go with quantities per, like dollar value per week, because I don't expect it to be half, because that's why we kept on dragging the shopping out, because the longer we dragged it, the less we seemed to spend each week because we made it work. And it's like lack of coconut cream or lack of rice milk or whatever else. We just use other things. The kids have porridge for breakfast and stuff like that instead of having cereal with rice milk and, that sort of thing. I've had to add some flour to that dough. It was very slack. I don't know. I was talking while measuring. Maybe I did something wrong. That's the way it is. And I'm lucky that I've got the skill set to be able to just tweak it, make it work. So we're doing that. So we've just got it needing some more flour into the dough. So it was a little bit too tacky. Not that this is a cooking video as such. It's just I'm doing stuff while I'm here, because if I'm out here talking, then I may as well be doing stuff. So I don't know. Got distracted. What was I saying? It's going to be a challenge doing the thing. Now, in regards to the meat order, so we got the meat order for this 10-week period, and it's been great. There was a couple of mix-ups with the order. It's fine. It's what happens. I did the canning video the other day with the chicken and the chicken thighs. We always used to can chicken breasts because they were cheaper. But we canned the chicken thighs this time, and the marinated ones, I won't do that again. But the plain chicken thighs, it's probably what we'll just fall back on, because they were pretty amazing, the thighs in there, the texture. So sometimes when you can ugly chicken as breasts, it ends up pretty dry, and I think that's where that whole tuna type texture comes from, because tuna is a very lean meat. So is chicken breast, and so sometimes the way it flakes and stuff, it felt like tuna, and it was very dry, and you really definitely had to add stuff to it. The thighs, they're super moist to come out. So I did get a question about adding all the fat into the jars. Well, the whole point is the fat is what creates the moisture, so I don't trim the fat, and because we're allowing it to make its own liquid, then you kind of need that fat too, because that's part of what that liquid is. It's the water cooking out of the meat, but it's also the fat, and the fat's going to keep moisture in there, so we leave that in there. You just have to take precautions. You don't want to overfill your jars too much. You want to make sure you take the temperature up nice and slow so that the fat doesn't impact the seal of the jar, things like that. It's but yeah, so the marinated is okay. It'll be fine in some stir fries or in some pastas or something like that, but it does have that very slight burnt flavor, which is what I was worried about with the sugar in the marinade. And then cooking, you cook it off in a pan, it's fine, but then if you're adding 90 minutes of processing time in an enclosed space, it kind of just kicks all those flavors, intensifies them all to a point that they're just not as pleasant anymore. So we won't do that again. I may try searing just a salt and pepper garlic mix on the breast, like without the cowboy candy and stuff, maybe just a dry mix, quickly searing it and then canning it, because the texture was definitely better. The texture was more firm. You could pull whole thighs out and sort of break them into chunks, rather than as soon as you try and pick out the raw packed chicken, it just falls apart into pieces. So there's the feedback on that. This dough is still very wet, but I've added a bunch of extra flour, and I think I'm going to leave it at that. As I've said before, I have enough skill handling dough that realistically a little bit of a wet dough I can manage. Though sandwich bread is supposed to be nice and easy to handle. And this is going to be less so, but I also have had it been kneading for ages, and I don't want to add too much more, and I'm guessing it's probably partly the rice bran oil instead of the granulated sugar, in amongst a bunch of other stuff. So we're just going to go with it. I don't want to waste too much more time on it. I have plenty of stuff that needs to get done this week. I won't do it on this video, but I'll just mention that. So as we come into winter, there's always a bunch of different things that I like to get done. So this is that dough. I've sprayed this with oil before I pour it in there. So the kids like instant porridge for breakfast in winter. So we have some insulated mugs, like the stainless steel insulated mugs that the kids all have. And then I make instant porridge mix up for them in different flavors. I did it last year as well, so anyone who was around last year would have seen it. But basically just, let me get my hands a wash. A couple of different flavors of instant porridge mix. So we do your standard brown sugar cinnamon one. I normally do PB&J, so I do powdered peanut butter, and then I buy freeze-dried fruit. So this year, Melbourne Food Depot last year had some cheap frozen seconds, freeze-dried seconds raspberries and strawberries, and I logged in this year and they had it again, so that was good. So I bought that. I need to jar that up. I'm going to do that during the week too, because I want to test out that mason jar sealer. So I'm going to jar up the freeze-dried fruit into a couple of jars so that it can be used. So I normally do like a PB&J and a brown sugar cinnamon, and normally do a choc banana. So I grind up the dehydrated banana chips that we get and make a choc banana one too. So that'll be fun. I'd like to buy some freeze-dried apple and try like an apple cinnamon one, but I haven't found it yet, and the kids don't like the dehydrated apple in porridge. They don't like the texture of it, so we've tried that. So I'd like to get freeze-dried apple or freeze-dried apple powder and try grinding that up, but I haven't found it at a decent enough price yet, because I'm not paying a fortune for it, because it's unnecessary. They will just eat canned stewed apples over things, so I can always just do that. And it's just canning it in small enough amounts that if they eat it one day but they don't eat it the next day, it's not going bad in the fridge, things like that. It ends up being a little bit of a juggle, but I can always can it in small jars. I just tend to avoid canning things in small jars because it's so much lid usage for them. But maybe that's something I need to do. Don't know. We will see. But I also intend to make some instant soup mixes too. So over winter, generally speaking, the monthly hamper that I get from Aberdeen Pantry generally has cuppa soups in it, the boxes of cuppa soups, and the kids love them. But they're not that bad, but they're not great either. And it's a lot of rubbish and expense. Like if I can buy them half price, I see them on sale half price at Coles and Woolies all the time, and I sit there and I think, should I just grab them? But the thing is that it's like $1 something for like 4 sachets in a box, and when you've got 6 kids eating them, then anyway, so what I want to try and do is make up some of my own. So I already make like a French onion soup mix blend. I don't know if the kids would like that particular one, but I make that for cooking purposes, which I really need to make up. So I need to do the French onion soup mix and the bacon seasoning. I've been saying I need to do that for like 2 weeks now. I will get that done hopefully this week. I don't have a whole lot else on for videos. So, but what I'm going to try and do is make some soup mixes up too. So I'm going to buy some like pumpkin powder and some potato flakes and some different vegetables and stuff that can be mixed up into powder mix, where they can just put like a tablespoon in a cup, add hot water, and they've got instant soup. Then the idea was too that they could also use jars of chicken if they wanted to. So I could just jar up small pints of chicken and vegetable soup and things like that, and they could have that too. But they really like that novelty of the instant soup mix. So I'm going to give that a go too. So that's on the cards, to mix up some of those freeze-dried and dehydrated vegetable powders and stuff with some bouillon and maybe some instant noodles, or I don't know yet. We'll figure it out and mix up some blends into jars, and they can just grab a tablespoon out, put it in their insulated mugs like they do with their instant porridge. We also have to make hot chocolate powder up, so we always do that in winter too. So I need to, when I order the goon bags of the coconut cream, they also sell dairy-free coconut milk powder in a big 15-kilo bag. I do have some left in the tub, but it's probably not enough to get us through winter. I tend to only buy it once a year because we use it in curries and cooking and things like that. But we also, one of the predominant reasons we use it is for the drinking chocolate. So I blend up the coconut milk powder and some cocoa and some sugar and everything else all pre-blended into a jar, and then again they just add it to a mug, hot water, bit of coconut cream on top if they want, or a bit of rice milk, however they want it. And generally I make marshmallows a few times over the winter too, not all the time because they'd eat it every hot chocolate otherwise, and they don't need it. But I might look at trying to blend some of the maybe do some half sugar, half sweetener as well, so that I'm reducing the sugar content a little bit in it. Sweetener is just so expensive, so trying to replace all sugar with sweetener it's just not feasible. But if I can reduce, I already use a lot less sugar than most people for most things. My kids eat things far less sweetened than the average. But if I can also then sort of halve the sugar and sweetener, then that might be a good compromise as well. I need to do another order through Naturally Sweet for their erythritol monk fruit blend. That's who I buy that from. I did have a discount code for them, but I think it's expired. But when I get that, I'm going to put an order in. I should do that today actually, and when I do that I'll show you what I get, because they're my choice of erythritol monk fruit blend. I do buy allulose from iHerb because you can't get it in Australia, but the erythritol monk fruit blend is my choice of least expensive and flavor tolerable, no aftertaste, that sort of thing. I'm not a fan of xylitol. I don't like it much at all. And I don't like erythritol straight, but I do like it with the monk fruit. So everyone's going to have different taste profiles for all of that sort of stuff. And I've always reduced the kids' sugar, but I don't remove it completely because they're children, and that's, I've always done reduced sugar jams and less sugar in nearly everything I make, and that, but that's just been how I've raised them all the way through. So Anyway, that was a bit of a squirrel, wasn't it? I don't even know where I started on that conversation. Oh, things that I'm going to get done this week. So you got to hold me accountable now. I've said I'm going to do them, so you've got to make me do them. I also got my Bench Foods dehydrator. It got delivered on Friday, so thank you, Bench Foods, for that. So the plan is to cut up some of that beef round and make some jerky as well. So now that we've got some good sunny days, that will be doable too. So we're going to do that. There's just been a lot going on. There's bunches of stuff that I can't share at the moment as well. So, you know, the life in general is just a little bit, you know, all over the place at the moment, but we're getting there. So I have no idea how long this video is because I never actually take note of when I stop and start or anything like that. But I think I've covered everything I need to this week. It is, I think, so what's the date today? It is the 6th. I think I'm going shopping in last week of April, maybe. It's Mum's birthday, so I might try and overlap my shopping trip with her birthday and go out to tea with her, but we'll see how we go. So we've still got a couple of weeks to go, which is fine. We've still got plenty of meat from the meat online order as well. And, you know, I can always bake bread and we do have bacon and ham and all that in the freezer too, and we get eggs. We'll be fine. But it definitely has been a little bit of a stretch this 10-week period in certain things, like the coconut creams and the sugar and that. I can use the coconut milk powder that I have left to mix up coconut milk for most of my cooking. It doesn't end up the same texture. No matter how much coconut milk powder you mix with water, you cannot get the same texture as opening a tin of coconut cream. And I assume that's to do with the fat content, because when they dehydrate or freeze dry or whatever they do to get the coconut milk powder, they're removing the fat, otherwise it wouldn't be shelf stable. So no matter how much water you're putting back in there, you're not putting the fat in there, so it just doesn't have the same creamy texture. So it works really well to put in things like curries or to turn into a milk for a dish, for like a cake or a whatever else. But it's not so great for things where the coconut milk is the star of it. Like, it doesn't work real well for ice cream or anything like that. The amount that you have to use ends up having such a heavy coconut flavor for a lack of creaminess. So, but that's fine. We will work around it for the next few weeks. And as I said, I'm going to put in an order for the bulk coconut cream delivered to Mum because it's free shipping to Mum. So I'll get it to Mum and I'll pick it up when I go there. I don't know what else. I'm just going to leave it there. So these videos are just always all over the place. They're really bad lighting too. I can see like the because I'm just, yeah, I think that's it. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next video. Hopefully one that's a little bit more full of content and practical than this one. I will say, I've been getting a lot of feedback. I apologize for my kitchen again last video, and I know people are saying, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. I get a lot of negative comments about various different things, but the state of the place is one that comes through a lot. And whilst I don't have a problem with it as such, like, I know what I'm using is clean and I'm comfortable with serving food out of, and it gets to a point where you feel like you have to make excuses. So then I make excuses and then I get in trouble for making excuses. So, you know, anyway, all good. I'll see you on the next one, guys.